Honorable Men Discord, National Guard in Washington, D.C. Let's talk about it.
How you see yourself is how you perceived. I see a man strong, gifted, head strapping, never down on his knees, begging. Gotta make a way, even in my darkest hour. Say the odds against me was new, I would never cower.
As always, welcome back to another episode. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and by all means, join the conversation in the comment section. So, for those of you that are unaware, President Trump initiated Section 74, as you can see below, of the D.C. Home Rule Act. And I'm just going to play that for those of you that did not see this press conference when he spoke about initiating this act and deploying the National Guard in Washington, D.C. So let me just play this first, and then the next thing I have queued up is current news from Washington, D.C. as to how everything is transpiring with the National Guard being out there. In addition to that, I have reaction to how people feel about the National Guard being out there, as well as those who actually live in Washington, D.C., how they feel about it. So let's get into this news report, and we'll talk about it towards the end.
And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
In a fiery press conference, President Trump announced a takeover of D.C.'s local police force as violent crime on the streets of Washington appears to be spiraling out of control. But is this move by the White House legal? Here's what you need to know about Trump's historic crackdown. Passed in 1973, the Federal Home Rule Act granted the District of Columbia self-governance. However, Section 740 of the law allows the president to assert emergency control over the Metropolitan Police Department, or MPD, for 30 days. Congress can pass a joint resolution extending the authority. Trump also announced plans for the National Guard to be deployed. The president has direct control over D.C.'s National Guard, unlike every other unit, which is under the authority of each state's governor. In response to the announced takeover, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser seized the moment to advocate for full statehood for the district, calling their democracy tenuous. She said the Home Rule Act intrudes on their autonomy in many ways.
We are American citizens. Our families go to war. We pay taxes and we uphold the responsibilities of citizenship. And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
Mayor Bowser admitted that the Capitol...
Let me go into the next news report.
Republican governors from West Virginia, South Carolina, and Ohio, they are dispatching members of their National Guard to Washington, D.C. after President Trump declared what he calls a public safety emergency. They're cracking down on crime and homelessness in our nation's capital. Over the weekend, protesters hit the streets to push back. CBS News Pentagon reporter Eleanor Watson is live with us now from the Pentagon. So let's start here. Paint a picture for our viewers of what D.C. looks like for somebody who is out just getting their morning coffee.
Well, Reed, it really depends on where you are, because at least for the National Guard, they're primarily located at landmarks associated with postcards you might receive from the Capitol and not in the neighborhoods where there are reports of crime. There are hundreds of members of the D.C. National Guard and some of their military vehicles at Union Station, where visitors coming into D.C. arrive, and along the National Mall between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial, primarily a destination for tourists. Their presence, though, there are about 800 members of the D.C. National Guard activated, and their presence will almost double in the coming days as those governors from West Virginia, Ohio, and South Carolina in total are sending about 700 more guardsmen to add to what essentially is, as of right now, a presidential show of force in the Capitol.
Well, there is that criticism that you referenced here, that these troops really aren't even in areas where crime is a major problem. What's the reaction to that criticism?
Last week, Reed, when the Pentagon, when it was pointed out that the National Mall, where those monuments are, is not a source of spikes in crime data, the Pentagon said that the presence there is meant to act as a deterrent, to discourage anyone from conducting crimes. And right now, that's all they're really ordered to do as this intimidation factor, because they're not making arrests and they are not, as of right now, armed with weapons. But their mission could slide, could change, could adjust as this crackdown on the Capitol enters its second week this week.
That is an expensive deterrent. Much more ahead on CBS News as we ask questions about the cost of this, and really that question that you raised about whether they can even...
Interesting. So they're reporting that they're not even in areas where crime is committed. They're near monuments. Interesting. So just based off what CBS is saying, the question I ask is this all smoke and mirrors? Were they deployed to actually make a change in Washington, D.C.? And here's the thing about news coverage. Who do you believe? Do you believe the news coverage? Do you believe the people that actually live there that may get on live and talk about the condition of Washington, D.C.? I say I would believe the people. At first glance, yes, I'll listen to the news because where else am I going to get my sources from? But if enough people from the Washington, D.C. area are saying something different outside of the news, I'm going to believe those people. All right? Here's a gentleman speaking on the National Guard being deployed.
Deploy the National Guard to Texas to help with the floods. Wouldn't deploy the National Guards to North Carolina, to Arkansas, etc. But he got the National Guard deployed in Washington, D.C. because of crime, when statistics show that crime is completely down in Washington, D.C. because of an isolated incident that happened to a former DOJ employee. And you got some black folks that are cheering this stuff on. And it's just unbelievable. It don't make any sense to me at all. The National Guard don't need to be in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. don't need to be federalized. It's a independent government, right? They got their own mayor. They got their own city council. They got their own police force. But yet and still, the National Guard is deployed there, and you got folks out here in the black community cheering this stuff on. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. So he wasn't deployed.
My question to him is, if the National Guard doesn't belong, and I'm just asking, if the National Guard doesn't belong in Washington, D.C., where do they belong? Because I don't want to make this episode a pro-Trump episode, but I'm not going to also make this episode going against Trump. What is the solution? I hear, the moment Trump was elected, obviously there were people that liked him because they voted him in, and then there were those that didn't like him. But it seems everything that he does, there's a group of people that look at it like he's making the wrong decision. So what exactly is the right decision? What's the solution? Now, a lot of people, when I put this together, it seems like they feel as though he's stepping on toes by going over the governor and implementing the National Guard. But what if what the governor was doing wasn't enough? Do you just sit back and say, okay, they'll figure it out at some point in time? Or do you, as the president, step in and say, listen, you tried it your way, let me try it my way, as an alternative? I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, I know how it appears, but based on the news report, they're not even in the crime areas, which has me confused as to why they were sent out there in the first place. But it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't, because now, had the National Guard been someplace other than the monuments, people would say, oh, they're in the neighborhoods. It doesn't, we feel like we're being policed. every time you turn on the corner, there's a National Guard standing there. You know, this doesn't feel like America. There would be complaints about where they're located if they weren't by the monuments. So I really don't know what people want, you know. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what the solution for Washington is. I barely know what the solution is for here in New York City or any other state, for that matter. But let me continue.
He hates black people. He hates black people. He said terrible, dangerous cities like Oakland, Baltimore, D.C., because they're majority black population cities. He hated black people when he took out 4 full-page ads in New York newspapers calling for the Central Park 5 to be executed. Innocent black children. He hated black people when he picked Haitian immigrants to bully because he knew dumbass white-skinned Latinos like me would fucking fall for that shit. He hates black people. He fucking hates black people. I don't know how much clearer he can get.
Fear-mongering at its best. The reason why President Trump actually kicked off and did this is because a 3-year-old black girl died. Because all of the violence that's been happening in Washington, D.C. Now, I sit back and I tell myself, why do all the Democrats love crime so much? Like, if you really think about it, out of the top 25 states, at least 22 of them are democratically ran. And do you also notice whenever these people are trying to push their bullshit, they always try to target the black folks? This be their favorite thing to do. Black folks are over here minding their own business, and Democrats keep trying to bring them into their bullshit. And she's gonna downplay that she's a white Latina? Girl, have some pride. That is fear-mongering at its best, because shit makes no sense how the Democrats loves crime so much. They love to say, oh, President Trump is this, President Trump is that. President Trump is militarizing Washington, D.C. and all that other weird shit that these people are saying. But whenever you ask the people of Washington, D.C., they will tell you straight up what President Trump is doing is good. Like, I'm not trying to listen to no Olivia Giuliana that doesn't know what the fuck is going on. And how the fuck does cleaning up the streets means that he hates black people? Unfortunately, a majority of the people that's doing crime in Washington, D.C. are black people. Because the residents of Washington, D.C. are literally coming on here and telling us the people that are committing crimes are the people who look like us. The people that's robbing and killing us is the people who look like us.
He hates black people.
So I was about to pause him, but the video clip ended. Does that sound familiar? The people that are doing the robbing and killing look like us? Whoever's watching this video, no matter what state you're in, does that sound familiar for your particular state? Or are you fortunate enough not to be living in a place where the crime is getting out of control? Because as a New Yorker, it sounds familiar. What he's saying sounds familiar. And we have to take accountability for our actions. Now, I've said this time and time again. There's no perfect man out there, including myself. And that includes the President of the United States. No one is here saying President Trump has it all together. Obama didn't have it all together. Biden definitely didn't have it all together. Right? But to say him deploying National Guard is not the right decision, I can't call it. I don't live in Washington. But this gentleman seems like he lives in Washington, and he's basically saying the people of Washington, if you really ask the people, and you don't go off of what the news is saying, which is why information and who's delivering the information is very crucial and critical, because it could start chaos among people, because people are ill-informed. He's saying the people are saying it's great what Trump's doing. And Trump, again, from what the news said, the National Guard's not even in the neighborhoods. They're near monuments. Why are they posted by the monuments? That I don't understand how that's helping the people of the community that actually, like he's saying, actually agree with Trump deploying the National Guard. So I don't understand. The people, what he's saying, the people agree with Trump, but yet the news is saying the National Guard is by the monuments. So the people seem to want it, but they're not in the areas that most need it. So I'm confused with the whole thing. I don't know what's going on with Washington. Anyone that's viewing this video that lives in Washington, please give me some insight on what's the condition and the atmosphere in Washington. But let me get into this next clip.
What do you make of the National Guard being deployed, not just to Washington, D.C., but potentially to other American cities like this?
Yeah, I'm proud to be the 63rd governor of the state of Maryland, but I'm humbled to be the commander-in-chief of the Maryland National Guard. And it's something that I do take very seriously as someone who has led soldiers in combat. I understand the gravity of what it means when you're asking these men and women to put themselves in harm's way, when you're asking their families to trust the decisions that are being made by those in charge, that the mission is both going to be mission critical and also mission aligned. And so I want to be very crystal clear to anyone who is listening. I will not authorize the usage of the Maryland National Guard for any mission that I do not deem to be mission critical or mission aligned. If there wants to be a real conversation about how to have public safety inside of our cities, just take a look at what we've been doing here in the state of Maryland over the past 2.5 years. Because the year before I became the governor, that Baltimore City averaged almost a homicide a day. Now, in 2.5 years, the last time the violent crime rate was this low in Baltimore City, I was not born yet. So if there wants to be a serious conversation about the work that we did collectively together with the mayor, with our county executives, with local law enforcement, with the U.S. attorney and the state's attorney, to be able to, with our community groups, to be able to drive down violent crime, then we should have that conversation. But let me not bury the lead. We were able to do that without having to deploy the National Guard in order to make that happen.
What do you make of the...
All right, so let me get into the final clip. And this gentleman actually lives in Washington.
I don't understand it, and I don't think I ever will. Why the fuck is people that's not from the city saying DC's not that bad? Why is a nigga from Denver, Colorado saying DC's not that bad and Trump is just trying to be a dictator? Gang, DC is fucking like Gotham City, bruh. Like, y'all do not know. Y'all out of towners, mo. Mind y'all fucking business, bruh. 4 infants got killed in a month. This shootings every day. Carjackings every day. The city is fucking wild right now, bruh. And it might say it's the lowest it's ever been. That's because these niggas just is not getting caught. There's so much shit going on. Y'all don't even know, bruh. I'm really recovering from getting shot in DC, gang. So for y'all out-of-towners to be like, DC's not that bad and this shit don't need to be done, y'all don't know shit, bruh. Like, for real, y'all don't know shit, bro. What Donald Trump is doing right now, getting the homeless off the street and putting all these law enforcement people in throughout DC, that shit needs to be done good. I'm tired of fucking Gotham City, gang. I'm tired of that shit, bro. I'm trying to go to U Street and not have to worry about running from fucking bullets, bro. I'm sick of that shit, gang.
What's your thoughts on all of this? You know, if you saw the full press conference from August 11th, when President Trump initiated this Section 740, DC is not the only state where he plans to do this. I believe New York is also a place he wants to do this. And as a New Yorker, in terms of New York, I wouldn't mind if he did it. Now, here's the thing. When crime gets out of control, and here's why I'm saying what I'm saying. When crime gets out of control and there doesn't seem to be a clear solution, I'm not saying that deploying the National Guard is the greatest solution, because it's not. But then what else can we try? Because the police force, they have their own stuff to take care of on a day-to-day basis. There's enough crime that they're trying to manage. But something else has to give. We have to try something else. And to be honest with you, it's clear from the crime in New York and across the country, gang culture is taking over. Gang culture is taking over. Gang culture is taking over. It's getting crazy outside. And for me, the news report, I believe they said the National Guard, they're not even armed at this time. Whether or not they're armed or not in New York City, the presence helps. The thing is, the truth of the matter is no matter if they send a National Guard, that is not going to be the end-all be-all, because they're only going to be there for a short amount of time. They can't stay there forever, no matter what state they go to. All right? They're not going to be there forever. It's a temporary fix. There still needs to be a better plan orchestrated to bring down crime. But as of right now, one thing that is for certain is there's way too many guns in the hands of people that should not have guns. That is the problem. Removing them from those hands, I don't have the solution for that. All right, but there's just way too many guns on the street. If people were settling their differences by just fighting, crime would be a lot better. But the problem is no one's fighting anymore. It's shootings or stabbings. Period. And if it starts off as a fight, it's going to end in either a stabbing or a shooting. There's just way too many guns out there. Way too many guns. At this point, the way the world is going, I'm not opposed to anything. You know, send out the National Guard. If you guys disagree with me, let's talk about it in the comments. I say send them out. Let's see what that does for crime. If that doesn't work, what's the next plan? I'm not shooting down any idea at this point with the way crime is. I'm not shooting it down. And as an adult, I wouldn't even mind if they're out there and they stop me. Why? Because I know I'm not doing anything. And I know, although they may stop me, their mere presence will stop those that are actually out there looking to do harm to other people. So if that's what it takes, then by all means stop me. I have nothing to hide. I'll show my ID. I don't have a problem with that, because I know it's not going to be like that for a long period of time. And for those of you that may think, well, what happens if they were going to be stationed in New York City or another state for a long period of time? Well, the goal is to bring crime down. So if they're out there for a long period of time, whatever that may be, if the crime is going down, then it was worth it. If crime is not going down, then that's a whole nother subject, a whole nother topic, and then we'll just have to revisit this conversation. But as of right now, I don't see I don't see another solution to this. By all means, if someone has a great idea on how to assess these type of situations in these different states, let me know, because as of right now, it just seems like it's complete lawlessness, and it's going to continue to be, like he mentioned, real life rendition of Gotham City. Because if he's saying that about Washington, D.C., then I could definitely say that about New York City. It's Gotham City. But that's all I have on this episode. What's your thoughts? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next episode. Stay honorable.